No, I mean, this is a midterm election year, and one in which historically the party in power is not likely to do particularly well. So when Trump says he has 3 years, what he really means is that he probably has more like 11 months, much less than that, when the political pressures are going to start to bear down on him. And I do think that his administration understands that. They know that's why they're moving so fast, because they know that this is their time.
But on the other hand, Trump and his administration know that when Americans have more money in their pockets and more money in their 401ks, that they're going to be happier about it. And the fact is, I just got a report this week on 401ks that shows during the first 3 quarters of 2025, 401ks, the average 401k increased in value by $23,000. Now think about it. 60% of American workers have a 401k or similar retirement account. During the Biden years, 401ks steadily decreased in value. Suddenly, those people know they're going to have more in their retirement account. Secondly, growth hit a staggering.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a subject that's been generating quite a bit of conversation lately, and I promise, no supernatural elements today, just clear, straightforward talk. Let's get into it. Recently there's been some debate around the performance of 401k plans, especially as it relates to the S&P 500. Now many voices are suggesting there's been a steady decline since the Biden administration took office in 2021. But as we look at the numbers, it's worth taking a moment to peel back that narrative. Check out this chart from 2021. It clearly shows a different picture than what some may claim. It's crucial for all of us with 401ks to understand how our investments are really performing. Many people are sitting there wondering, is my retirement at risk? Well, if you look into your own accounts, you might find they aren't on the steady decline some are shouting about. What's interesting and concerning is how the stock market itself is structured. Did you know that about half of it is owned by the top 1% of income earners, and around 90% is held by the top 10%? So when we hear a lot of chatter about 401ks, we need to consider who is really benefiting here. More often than not, it's not the everyday person like you or me. Moreover, these retirement accounts are great for the long term. But what about the short term? It's important to ask ourselves how this affects our day-to-day financial situations. Do those who heavily rely on 401ks have enough resources for today's needs? And then there's the big question. Should we be thinking about cashing out our 401ks? It can seem like a tempting option when immediate cash flow is tight, but is that decision more harmful than helpful? Let's take a moment to reflect on these questions together. It's about time we start having these conversations, not just focusing on the glittering numbers, but also on the realities each of us faces. So, what are your thoughts on this? Are your 401ks performing as you expected? Let's discuss in the comments below.
Is 4% growth good or bad?
Okay, we can point to 5 indicators.
It's a big one. GDP is a big one. Is it good or bad?
Let me tell you something. When you're in the grocery store and you're pushing the cart and it's empty, and you get to the self-checkout because they fired all the other people who work there, and you ring up and you barely have enough money to afford the 10 items in your basket, you really don't even understand nor care about it.
Charles, let's see.
You're still blaming Biden. Biden's been gone.
Let's see if we can agree for a second, Charles.
We're very excited about this Biden thing, but that's not Biden.
Let me let Brad.
It has nothing to do with Biden.
Let's see if we can agree here a little bit. I think you're right that the president needs to be focused on kitchen table concerns and helping continue to move things forward. All right? And it does matter what it says in the grocery store. I'll agree with you on that. Now, will you agree that 4.3% growth and inflation in the twos, that's also good, right?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, right. So that's the objective. The president has to start at the macro level and work down. There's more work to be done. The president needs to be clear.
And all I said was that is the Biden problem. They also had great macro numbers that they could point to.
Including growth that was at 4%.
Exactly. We had come out of
during
a
the Biden
horrible
years as
time
well.
with the pandemic. We were trying to see if we were going to be able to bounce back to some degree. They were making progress bouncing
were
back.
dumping federal cash into the economy and driving inflation.
As I said, you could always point to something. But here's the
Well, no,
point.
that's a fundamental.
Here's the point. Here's the point. The average American simply wasn't feeling it the way that they were saying it. And you guys turned
That's
right
just
around.
not true.
You guys turned right around and did the exact same thing.
I'm with you. The prices need to be low. I'm with you on prices.
Go ahead.
I don't think the president is moving fast in this administration because it has anything to do with economics, okay? And I'll tell you, at the end of the first Trump administration, talking to Stephen Miller about what the plan was for the second Trump administration, the plan was to break the law as fast as possible and then see what the Supreme Court agreed with and what it didn't. At the time, Stephen said, we've got a drawer full of executive orders. It's going to be a shock and awe blitz. That was the strategy, is go do as many things as possible, whether they were legal or not legal, and then in the second year, hope that the Supreme Court came down in favor of as much of it as possible. Now, we already saw what happened in the first year. If you go back statistically and look, this president has been ruled to have done illegal things, more illegal things in his first year than any president in modern history. That is the data.
When you say ruled, I just want to
dozens of federal judges, including judges that Donald Trump appointed, and conservative
so many
judges.
federal judges, lower court federal judges, who will be
Judges that Donald Trump appointed, judges that George W. Bush appointed, judges that Ronald Reagan appointed have determined that Donald Trump did things that weren't just illegal, but they were unconstitutional. Hundreds of federal judges have ruled that illegal things have been done by this administration. My point here is they acted quickly because they knew some of those things were going to be against the law. Their hope is that in year two, the Supreme Court sides with them on some of those
Let's be
cases.
clear on that.
I love what you pointed out. Let me just point out that the Supreme Court has already slapped the hands of most of those lower court judges for imposing national injunctions, which they have no authority to do. So we both agree.
I will say, Betsy,
come on, let's shake hands on this.
the thing we're shaking the fact that the Supreme Court in June is probably going to say that on the economy, the president broke the law, raised prices, tariffs or taxes, and that's going to be a big repudiation.
To Miles's point, if Democrats retake control of the House, here's what Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi says is going to happen the instant that they do. Listen.
Right now, the Republicans in the Congress have abolished the Congress. They just do what the president insists that they do. That will be over.
So that ends as soon as you have a Democratic
That ends as soon
speaker.
as we have the gavel.
And Miles's point about Stephen Miller, I think, is really important because he is the architect of so much of what's happening here, whether it's on immigration, the push to end birthright citizenship, the executive orders, the execution of Project 2025. All of those things, maybe I shouldn't overstate it, many of those things will come to a screeching halt once there is more of a balance of power.
Wait a minute. I just want to say that Nancy Pelosi, I'm so glad to have her back. Charles and I probably are both glad to have her back, but for different reasons. I hope she stays in the debate. Miles, your numbers, the president, last I checked, had been taken to court 533 times. 240 of them are still pending. Of the ones that have been decided, he's won about half and he's lost about half. When he loses, he appeals. That's what's supposed to happen. And none of us may like the creep of executive authority over the last several administrations. I haven't liked it in many presidencies. But that is the modern state of things, and it's what the Supreme Court's job is to do. In the end, though, the president's probably going to be held accountable by what he gets accomplished through Congress this year. Nancy Pelosi, I find it funny for her to say the Congress has abdicated this job. She did whatever Barack Obama wanted. Cap and trade, Affordable Care Act, stimulus bill. She didn't stop him or stand up to him on anything.
They actually passed laws, though. This Congress is literally one of the least productive Congresses in modern history. It would be different.
Are you saying the Senate Democrats won't help out and filibuster everything?
There's always been some partisan. No, there's always been partisan differences, and people have learned to work around them and to find ways to come to a bipartisan deal to actually do the job of Congress, which is the only job is to make legislation.
Oh, I thought the Democrats thought it was to impeach the president. That's what they did over and over again. They didn't pass laws. They just impeached to impeach.
But you now have a president who doesn't say any of the numbers that you guys were just throwing around. He just says that affordability is a Democratic hoax. And so all of the people out there complaining about affordability are being lied to and then regurgitating the lie, which is political suicide, I think, going
I just said it. My advice to him is to say that there's a lot more work to do.
Look,
But I
yes,
think
that's right.
4.3% growth is good.
And look, a couple of signs that Trump knows that A, the clock is ticking, and B, that he needs to address affordability. Delaying tariffs on furniture and upholstered goods and things like that. Also, pulling back from this push to put National Guard in American cities. These are highly controversial things that are not very politically popular.
He will win that case at this court next June.
What case?
The case on the National Guard.
Well, he's already lost it so far.
No, he did not lose
with the
it.
Supreme Court.
No, an unsigned 15-page opinion by 3 justices, unsigned, simply said they will not give an expedited ruling, that he has to wait for it to go through the ordinary process. It will be decided next June.
Hold on.
There was no loss in the Supreme Court.
What they did was they allowed the stay to go forward, meaning, look, they haven't done that in all these other cases. In many of the other cases, the Supreme Court has said, you know what, we're going to lift the stay. The executive has the power to do this. Go ahead. They didn't do that in this case. And I think that is significant. But the other part is he pulled back on the plan to put the National Guard in American cities. Why would he do that if he thought that he was perfectly capable of doing it?
Well, he didn't pull back on all the cities, just the cities that were named, Chicago, for example. And he pulled back because there was a lot of resistance and also because of the execution of those 2 National Guard. I think he was very concerned about that.
But he's not about it in New Orleans or any of the red states where he's also done this. It doesn't make any sense.
He knows it's a loser case.
It's a loser case because
I don't think it is a loser case. In 1827, the Supreme Court ruled that he has the authority to do it.
His disapproval rating is scraping the 60s. No one who studies politics believes that a president in an off-year election, right after he's won, with those low of approval ratings, can possibly have his party do well.
You know what, though, Charles?
That's
He's
the
running
problem.
against a
I'm
Democratic
betting that
Party
he will
that's never
hold
been
the-
less popular.
And to
Democrats are
this
at about
full
a 19,
That's
20%
right.
approval rating. He does not.
You know why that is?
He does not have to outrun the bear. He has to outrun the Democrats.
No, you know why that is? You know what it is? Because even with those low approval ratings, in the elections that have happened this year, some of them off year, some of them municipal, Democrats have done incredibly well.
Because of their education advantage.
No.
They have a turnout advantage. High propensity voters
Exactly,
are more Democrat.
but you see how what you just said before doesn't line up with that? The idea that the Democrats have a low approval rating and yet they're doing really well in these elections. You know why they have the low
These
approval
elections
rating?
have almost no one showing up, like only the frequent voters.
But
I mean, I'd rather win them. Don't get me wrong.
But do you know why this is happening? Because Democratic voters want Democratic politicians to do even more to push back.
Oh, they're not liberal enough?
To push back.
You think Democrats should get more liberal? We need to put you in charge. We need to put you in charge.
We want them to push back on Donald Trump
even
more.
by your assessment, even if it's an education advantage, even if it's because they're high propensity voters who are coming out for Democrats, none of that is in Trump's favor in the midterm elections.
None of it.
For Republicans.
You'd rather
That
win them than
that
lose them, but I can tell you,
that doesn't help
I
him
was
at all.
advising House Republicans in 2009, 2010. We didn't win any special election in 2009. We did pretty darn well in 2010, 163 seats in the House. The special elections were special.
My only concern is whether or not this election will be free and fair. We've seen Donald Trump already try to tinker by forcing states to redraw maps, and then Democrats responded to that. We already know that there are election deniers that have been elected to boards all around the country. We already know that the DOJ has requested from 40 states sensitive voter data and sued 20-plus states for not providing it. And we have no idea what all of that will mean for a free
Excuse me, they want to
and fair
clean up the
election.
voter
Thank you
rolls,
so
take
much.
the dead
And
people
now
off the
we gotta
rolls.
go.
And by the way, the Supreme Court will be deciding a case in June about mail-in ballots and the preposterous notion that you can count ballots that arrived after eletion day.
Okay, which we do all the time for people who live
And
overseas
we should not
for
be
military
doing that.
members.
Right.
Next for us, New York.
The Bidenomics hole, which is you keep telling people about numbers and you should feel better because of this number. And this number is great too. And look at the 5 great numbers that I've found, but there's 95 great numbers that don't go in your favor. There are bad numbers. There are cost of living numbers. There are things that you have to deal with on a daily basis.
Charles, cost of living numbers, 9.1% inflation under Biden.
Keep telling people those numbers and make sure.
Yeah, let me tell you, numbers do matter, and people
No, the numbers that
push
matter,
the numbers aside when they're not in their
is that
favor.
I'm worried about whether I can afford macaroni while he's out shopping for marble. Those are the numbers that matter.
All that jealousy of the rich has nothing to do with
jealousy
that.
of the rich. That's a crazy statement.
Exactly the rhetoric. That's exactly the rhetoric. The numbers
that is a
do matter.
crazy statement.
Right.
When you're talking about
If the
people
numbers
with
were on your
401ks,
side, you'd be looking
the
at
working class people, the people at the lower end of the totem pole are the ones less likely to have a 401k, and those are the people who are going to be struggling the most, and those are also the people.
No, most union people have a 401k.
You act like all the union people that are lowest on the totem pole. That's crazy too. But the thing is that people on the lower end of the totem pole are the ones who are really struggling, and those are the ones that he had made real inroads with. He had made real inroads with people, minorities, black men. He had made real inroads with Hispanics. He's destroying all of that, both with policies that are hostile to them.
That blacks and Hispanics don't have 401ks.
As a black man, I'm telling you right now, because I've been to a barbershop more than once because all of his hair is gone. He's having a horrible time with black men right now.
All right, everyone, let's keep this conversation going. It's quite amusing how some folks seem so confident yet consistently miss the mark. I mean, Abby is a prime example, so certain, yet often misguided. The way she slams the table when making a point, you'd think she has all the answers. It's a wild scene, that's for sure. Now, let's reflect on accountability. Remember the events surrounding January 6th? Many say that the National Guard was simply doing their jobs, following orders in a chaotic situation. Tragically, lives were lost. It's worth noting that these unnecessary escalations often trace back to decisions made by leadership. When politicians prioritize their image and narratives over the well-being of people, you can't help but feel a sense of outrage. Now, we can't overlook another pressing issue, U.S. foreign policy. Recently, there have been aggressive moves against countries like Venezuela, with claims about regime change and capturing leaders. Historically, actions like these have rarely turned out well for the U.S. or the countries involved. It raises questions about the motivations behind such decisions. Remember Iraq? It's hard to argue it's thriving today. So what's the plan here with these interventions? Are we hoping for a miracle to solve domestic issues like inflation and affordability? There's a lot of skepticism out there. Spending billions on military endeavors won't magically put money back in the pockets of everyday Americans. Yet, here we are, waiting for change that seems perpetually out of reach. Charles has a point. People are fed up with the status quo and crave actual change. They want leaders who will stand up, not shy away from tough fights. We need movement, especially regarding holding billionaires accountable who often influence policy for their gain. The public deserves to know that their government is fighting for them, not just settling for comfortable compromises. And while progressives have made strides in certain areas, like health care, they often seem to back down when it matters most. There are real conversations happening now, and people are paying attention. But Republicans continue to mislead with their focus on stock market numbers. Sure, some may be smiling about rising 401ks, but for many, that's not the reality they live in. I fear most will face even greater struggles ahead, especially with the unpredictable tactics of figures like Trump. The chatter surrounding the upcoming midterms only adds to the uncertainty. Who knows what they'll pull next? So, I'll leave it here for now. What do you think about all of this? Your insights matter, so let's discuss in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and spreads the message. Catch you in the next video.